Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dream Team Tonic special this week. Joining me, Ben, and James, we've got former Bristol Rovers pro, David Pritchard. Are you there, David?
How are you? Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on. Ben, James, you both here?
Hi, mate. You right?
Nice to have you on again, as usual. It's becoming a nightly thing, this now. It's our pleasure to have a former pro, David Pritchard, on. We're going to look through his dream team, see how it's been doing this season. The big dream team player, and then we're going to have a look into a delve into his career, and we've got a lot of questions from some of our listeners and subscribers. So, without further ado, Dave, we'll have a look at your team, mate.
Thank you.
Pritch's Wolves. Do you want to have a run through it, mate? Have you got it up there?
I can get it in front of me. Yeah, I mean, one thing I have to say about the dream team, I wish it was a sprint and not a marathon because I have such a good start. So I think I even won the first month, but then sadly the concentration waves a bit, and I seem to fall down the league. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, early doors I had 3 Chelsea defenders in. I had obviously the keeper and 2 defenders with the clean sheets.
Yeah.
Of late, I always fancied Man City to keep a clean sheet. That wasn't happening so much. So Chelsea was my banker early doors with Mendy in goal. And then I actually put Chilwell in, obviously swapped him when he got injured. And Rudiger did well for me until I started leaking a few goals and clean sheets weren't coming exactly how they were. Kyle Walker's been a stalwart for me, to be fair, in my team with City. And I swapped Mendy in the end for Edison, fed up with them leaking goals. It's been up front that's been my problem, if I'm really honest. I've not had Salah all season. Obviously, that makes a difference.
That's the sore one, that.
Within your team, yeah. I mean, I fancied, obviously, Ronaldo big time when he came back. He's done well. I thought he'd do even better, to be really honest, points-wise. But, you've always got to fancy him to score. So he was a banker for me. So I went down the Ronaldo route rather than anything else. Antonio, fancied him early doors, early season. Thought he'd do well. Did okay. So I went down that route early doors rather than Salah, and to be fair, it came back to bite me because, unfortunately, when you don't put him in, it's very difficult to be able to afford him when he starts banging in the goals.
Yeah.
I mean, my team at the minute, I put obviously we've got Jota in, obviously, because I changed him for obviously the African nations. I put him in. And Tony. I like him, Tony. He's a decent player. But I don't think it's really scaring anyone, my front 3 at the moment, if I'm really honest.
Do you have a three-player max rule in your mini-league that you're playing?
Yeah, we did. And I did break a rule and I did get shouted at and I got points deducted. I didn't read the rules. I had 2 defenders and a goalkeeper for Chelsea, and I put Lukaku in with one of my changes, so I was told I wasn't allowed to. I was dot points, and they kept telling me to change it, and I kept telling them, listen, if I could take Lukaku out, I would. Let me tell you, he was absolutely useless. I've got no subs left.
Brilliant.
You've got 4 Man City in there now, haven't you?
I probably have, mate. Honestly, I really I need to have a look at the rules a bit closer to say. But I'm not troubling anyone, so hence why no one's mentioning it this time, Ben. You see, when I was up there and I was fighting, obviously people were looking a bit closer. But Bernardo Silva, like him, good player.
Yeah.
Always get goals. I put Silva in, must have been last month, to be honest. Sterling, sorry, because he started playing a few games and playing up front. And if you're playing up front for Man City, you expect him to score. If Ronaldo would have gone to Man City, I'd have been doing all right, to be honest, because I think he'd have got a bag full.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have got 4, and thanks for telling everyone, Ben, so I'll have to have a look at that.
It's because he's disguised. He's wearing a goalkeeper shirt. You don't realise it.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Chances are we're taking Sterling out, so I'll see who I can afford in there. I might even put... See, I always keep away from Wolves players, but I might have to put one of my own Wolves players in there.
Yeah, a defender, definitely.
Example.
Oh, Martinho's all right. Good price.
Martinho is doing well in there, but defensively, their record... I mean, I'm a huge Wolves fan and been to a couple of games this season when I went back, but you know what? I look at it and I'm thinking, nah, but done ever so well defensively, has to be said.
Yeah, definitely. Ever since I took Semedo out.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, Tony had Semedo in his team for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, as soon as I took him out, they went on a run of like 4 or 5 clean sheets in a row.
They've done really well. The keeper's come in, done well. Cody's a banker. Cody will always get you 7 out of 10, and he'll always get you know, when they get a clean sheet. Kilman's come in, done really, really well for the young lad. So, yes, I need to perhaps reassess my defence, because Alonso's no longer a banker now, even Chilwell's injured, so
yeah,
might look at as well.
And Chelsea go to the Club World Cup after Saturday, so you'll probably want to move them on.
Yes, I hadn't even thought about it, but to be fair, I do need a refresh. Unfortunately, I only get 5 subs. If I could get 11, I could do it even better.
Yeah, they've got a great run of fixtures as well when they come back on the 19th. So it's like you're taking them out, but you probably wouldn't mind having 1 or 2 back. It's
one of them, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you know, to be fair, I've come in here to get some tips from you lot, because you lot do really well in it. And you look at it and you think, you know, he's injured or he's missing a game. But then you look at the run of games, and if you take him out, you know, it's not always easy to get him back in. And it's like, you know, you sometimes sacrifice one game with them not playing, or you know, just to keep them in. But as you say, the run of games is important. You know, that's when you find when you're looking at fixtures. It's now when you're getting deep into it, you look at who's playing who, what run of games people have got coming up. And you know, and then, you know, to take 2 out, it's difficult to get them both back in. But I will have a look.
Yeah.
So how's your teams doing? So where are you, Ben? Are you? I'm gonna have a look at the league.
In the mini league that we're in, I'm 7th, I think. But
okay, yeah,
I've used my full 10. You can use 10 teams in the game. So I've put them all, you can use 10 teams in the game. So I've put them all in, and obviously try and win some mini leagues and try and win the whole thing. My best team is around, I'll just check, I think it was 230th.
Is it really? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, James is even better than me. You want to tell him your rank, James?
Well, I'm currently at 85th in the world. I was as high as 25th at one point. I'm not a million miles away from the top. So I'm hoping for a late challenge to net that 75 grand prize. That'd be quite nice.
That's impressive. So I don't want to bore everyone listening to it, but what's your team then, James? What's your team?
Well, if you bear with me 1 second, I'll just get it up. So I've got Edison in goal. Hang on. Let me bear with me. And
if you could just send Pritch a screenshot of it, and then you can make his transfers next week.
Do you want to tell him your rank, Tony?
Right.
So at the back I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, João Cancelo, Andy Robertson. In midfield I've got Bernardo Silva, Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne and Gerard Bowen. He's been banging them in. Up front, I've got midfielder. Yeah. He's been since I brought him in. He's been absolutely brilliant. Earlier in the season, I looked at him. I thought I'm not sure he's. He misses a lot of chances, but he seems to have. Well, he's getting so many chances now against some of the weaker sides that he seems to be banging them in. So he's been great. Up front, obviously, I took Salah out because he's off to the AFCON. So I've got Harry Kane, Jota, and Ronaldo. So when the transfers come, I've got to try and figure out a way to get Salah back in when he's back from the AFCON. Flying this year. My highest. Well, I'm doing better than I've ever done. So chatting to these guys helps. We all sort of chat about Dream Team all the time, and it really helps to sort of bat off each other. You know what I mean?
It's time to concentrate for you then. Now, time to concentrate for the last few months.
Well, yeah, as soon as I started taking it even more seriously, I started dropping down the league. So, anyway, doing really well. Thanks for asking.
My team's sat about 340th in the overall.
Still impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's having a good year, and I do have a team in the Costa League as well. I'm sat 11th in that at the minute. Not really. I'm trying to get my head around the 3-player rule. Not really done that apart from the time that they brought it into Dream Team for a season. But I've got Mason Greenwood up front currently in that team. So I mean that's one transfer used straight away. But like I say, it's monthly prizes in there, isn't it? You've got to tack the monthlies really. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've not got used to the 3-man from the single team either, as you can notice. I've still got 4 in now. So.
Yeah, we'll try and keep that quiet.
Yeah, well, I was going to. It's a bit late now. Someone stitched me up. There's obviously no thing on the game where it doesn't let you pick 4. Then it's just a Costa rule, is it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
very good.
When you're picking your team, Dave, what do you rely on, mate? Are you a lot more of the eye test, or do you look into any of the stats behind the players and point scoring and stuff? What do you make your decisions on?
You always do. You look at what they've scored the last few years. I mean, I've done it for many years now. And as much as you don't want to, you do find that it's just as important for your defenders for a clean sheet than it is to have your Salahs and stuff banging in the goal. So, you have to. It's about the mixture of that. Obviously, we're all after goal-scoring midfielders. They're not cheap. There's not that many of them out there. I mean, I've still got Fernandes in. I probably have him every year, to be honest, in my team, because he usually comes up good. Ben Rama did well for me early doors. Not so much lately. If I'd have known Jared Bowen was a midfielder, then I think I'd have swapped him for him a while ago, if I'm really honest. But you've got to. It's the balance. It's the balance, isn't it? I mean, it is important your back line. I mean, you can get 20 odd points just from clean sheets. Your money goes on your striker, your big striker. I went for Ronaldo with mine. Thought he'd do well. I don't know about anyone else, but I always have to have 2 or 3 that I have to fit in that I can afford. That I don't really want, but it's just when your money's running out, and it's whoever you can afford. And you know what? At the start of every season, you look at that and think, "Oh, what a team that is! What a team that is!" Yeah. And for the first month, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you say, the more you concentrate on it, because I said this year, right, I'm going to have a go this year. So I started really concentrating, looking who was playing who, and making changes, and suddenly I'm 26th. So it doesn't really work.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard when you've only got 5 transfers in a month. You think, he's got a little good run, and then you bring him in and he doesn't do anything, and you can't take him out because you've used all your transfers up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another thing. I was using all my subs start of the month. Not a good idea, especially when someone gets injured, sent off, or dropped. You are stuck with them. But you know what? It's why we all do it every year. It's a test for us. It's good fun. We all want to do well, and we all want to stop Paul Kimman winning the Costa one and Ben and people like that win. Yeah. But no, it's great fun. And you get up on a Saturday morning, you look at your team, you look at what's going on. Or what a Friday really now, isn't it, with the Friday games? So we enjoy it, and obviously I'm just looking at my team and they've all did not play this week. So I've got 11. I've usually got about 2 or 3 that's saying that, but I've got 11 this week, so I'm doing all right.
Do you concentrate on the price rises at the start of the season?
No. What do you mean? When the prices go up, when they're getting points, you mean, Ben? Or?
Yeah, like on a Friday morning, the prices of the players fluctuate.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So say you've got Tony there and he doesn't score for 3 weeks or something, he'll lose value.
Yeah.
Okay. And then eventually, when you want to sell him, he'll be, say you bought him at 3 million. When you want to sell him, he might be 2.2. So you want to get him out before he keeps dropping.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I notice it when I want to put a player in, and all of a sudden he's 0.4 million above more than he was, and I can't afford him anymore. Yeah. I don't really look the other way, which is just as important, to be honest. If they're going that way, you want to get rid of them anyway. Let's be honest. If they're losing value, they're not doing well for you.
No. Yeah, if there's anyone you want to get rid of and you think that the price is going to go down, the best day to do it is on a Thursday night.
Is it really? Okay, there you go.
That's when the prices change.
Okay. I'm learning all the time.
That's what we're here for.
That's it. You watch tomorrow night, I'll be honest.
You'll be winning it next month. Monthly prize.
You watch. I'll come back on next. Where are we now? February. I'll come back on in March, and I'll win the monthly in February. Now, Ben. Now I'll be on it Thursday night.
Yeah. How long have you been playing Dream Team for?
Cool. To be fair, in the Costa one, how many years has it been going? For years and years and years, isn't it? Remember Paul Kimman WhatsApps me every year. Are you putting a team in? Yeah. Send me your bank details. Here's the money. So years and years and years. God knows how long it's been. A long, long time. So you lot have all been playing a long time, obviously.
Yeah. You've been playing longer than me, mate. I think.
Yeah.
I think I started playing properly about 8 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's been double this week.
Yeah, I used to remember when they had it in the paper, and I used to pick a team out when I was little, but I never used to put it in. Someone said one of the customers in our bar said, "Oh, I'll put it in for you," because before back in the day, I think you only got three or four transfers a season.
Yeah.
Transfers.
There is, yeah. I mean, to be fair, when I first started doing it, it's like a bit of pressure on, really, because everyone expected me to know exactly who was going to get the most points and who the best defenders were and all that, and it's not that easy. It's not, just because you played the game doesn't mean you're going to win the Dream Team. That's for sure.
How do you normally fare in the Costa League or in the overall leagues? Have you had any top ranks or anything like that?
To be fair, I've done okay in the Costa League a couple of times. I certainly haven't won it, but I've been up there. I had another great start to this season, won the first month, and it's just gone downhill ever since. So,
at least your entry fee's paid for next season.
Well, to be honest, you've got to look on the positive side, and I'm playing for nothing now. I'm playing for nothing. I got my money back. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm playing for nothing. So, but you know what? It's speaking to people like you, to be honest, because there's not a lot of people here that now, obviously being up here, that actually do it and get involved in it. A lot of them do is it the Premier League one?
Yeah, FPL.
But I looked at that once, and that's even more. That's like 3 changes a week, isn't it, or something? And captains and all that. And I'm like,
yeah. There's it's one transfer a week, and if you use more than one transfer, then you get deducted 4 points per transfer.
How do you?
But that's weekly, that, and you have a deadline you have to do your team by.
Oh, okay. So I'll be no good at that with deadlines, but I did look at it and think that far too much like hard work for me, that one. So, but I don't speak to anyone about it. Obviously, when I was down on the Costa del Sol, it was the talk of the town, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was telling everyone, and the discussion was where you are in the dream team. So it is different up here. So it's nice to get a bit of insight into what people are doing and what they're doing properly and why they're doing it, and the reasons behind it. So I'll be certainly listening back and getting some tips, and I'll be calling you all back next month and just let you know how I got on this month. Mind you, looking at my team, I won't do that this month.
Pardon?
Looking at my team, I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
Well, we'll try and help you out, mate.
Yeah, please do. Any help's really appreciated, I have to tell you. Any help. So how long is Chelsea away for? Just 1 week? Have they got 1 week away? One match, is it?
They've got basically Man City, Liverpool, Leicester play 3 games while Chelsea are away.
Do they?
But Chelsea play first on Saturday. Well, they play 1 game on Saturday, while most of the other teams play 2 games. So you're losing 1 game there, and then the week after they're away completely, and then they're back for the Saturday the 19th February against Palace, and then they've got a lovely run of games.
So the ideal thing is not to have them in this week and then get them back in, yeah.
Yeah, but
then, have a look at that.
Like you say, it's probably tough to take two out now. Maybe you'll only take 1 out. I don't know, because it's a lot.
Alonso will go anyway. He's not really playing him, is he?
Yeah, really
he'll
good.
Be gone.
Probably to sit there for the 1 week if you need.
Yeah, I don't mind him losing.
Yeah, because he'd be good for when you come back.
Yeah,
and you've got other fires to put out in your team, I see. Like
I've
Ivan Toney. Other players to get rid of in your team, like Ivan Toney.
Why I've got him in, he must have been all I could afford, if I'm really honest, at the time.
Yeah.
You know, you're scrolling through and you go on points, and he was obviously had the most points for what I could afford. So it does need looking into. I looked at it when you sent it me, to be honest, Ben. I thought, that's not very good, is it, that? So I do need to concentrate a little bit more. Could do better. So who's the best cheap one out there up front then at the minute? What's the census that's going to get a few points and get a few goals?
That's your man, isn't it, Ben? Patson Dakar.
Patson Dakar's pretty cheap, yeah.
He's pretty cheap. He's 3.3 million, I think.
Okay.
There's not many in the really cheap bracket that are decent up front, but you could always look at changing your formation and maybe putting an extra defender in, or so you're playing. You could go 4-4-2 if that's all your budget allows.
It makes sense really to get Tony out and get a defender in that's going to get you a clean sheet. Probably got more chance of getting you a clean sheet than Tony has getting you a goal. So I've never really changed my formation.
As well, you've got Ederson in goal, and he's quite expensive for a goalkeeper. You could downgrade him, and then you can spend some money on outfield players.
I should have the Wolves goalkeeper in really Sarr. So you know,
if you had him at the start, if you had him at the start, he was only like 1.5 million, but he's like 3.6 now. He's nearly as expensive as Ederson.
Is he really? Jesus.
Yeah. So
this is an education for me. This is an education.
Yes. shall we move on to the questions from the listeners?
Yeah, let's touch on touch on what they've been asking and what they want to ask you, David. Right, first up, I think you're the first, James.
Yeah, probably I imagine that you get asked this quite regularly, but it's a bit of a cliched question, I think, but I think it's a valid one because everyone wants to know who is the toughest opponent you've ever faced.
Toughest is probably different to best. I mean, there's two different scales where you go toughest to the best player.
Yeah.
Toughest players come into someone that boots you, kicks you, fights you, doesn't give you a minute on the ball. And the best players come that they're 2 or 3 passes ahead of everyone else, and while you're looking what they're doing there, they've gone and got the ball off someone else. So there's a difference between toughest. Thingy. To be fair, one of the dirtiest and horriblest was Gascoigne when we played at Everton. His elbows and everything were ridiculous. But that's how he played. Yeah. That's how he played. I was injured for the return leg, and so was he. And as I walked down to the at the end of the game, we beat him actually in the replay. And I walked down to the tunnel. He was there having a fag with a brandy in his hand. So you can't fault him. You can't fault him. Yeah. So best, I played against some good players, played some very good players, and played with some. On the actual thing where playing against them, I know it was only testimony, but when you play against lots of skulls and them, it's a different gravy. If I'm really honest, it's a different stratosphere to where we're playing week in, week out. That's when you really learn the game. That's when you realise, these boys, you go to close them down and they're past it, and you're looking where the ball's gone, and he's got it back off the centre forward, and you're, Jesus Christ, that's the difference in the thing. Toughest opponents, we've had lots of them. I mean, we've had lots of scraps, we've had lots of fights in the leagues I played in. It was all about being tough. It was all about tackling. It was all about that and fighting in the tunnel and all that. So, I always used to pick a fight with Andy Akinbaye, which wasn't the bravest thing to do. It wasn't the best thing to do.
He was a beast.
Like incredible. He's an absolute beast. Played against him a lot of times and quick. And when I played fullback, it was one of them. Unfortunately, Andy, I'm not going to stand here chasing you all game. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to have a bit and see if you slow down. But he used to like to take it into the tunnel all the time. And when he takes his top off, you're thinking, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" Yeah, big lad though. Good. We had a lot of tough players in those days. I mean, different era. Let's be honest, to it is now. I signed for Rover in '94. And we played in the good days for me, when you could tackle, when it was a proper game.
Yeah.
Would I make a living now? Jesus Christ, I wouldn't. I don't know. My game was tackling, my game was scrapping, my game was putting your foot in. I'd hate to think that I got 1 red card in my career. Jesus, I'd hate to think what it would be now. I wouldn't enjoy it, to be fair. I wouldn't enjoy it.
Mm. Oh, thank you.
You invented the Kante role, didn't you?
Yeah. To be fair, I did. I finished in midfield. I used to like playing midfield. But I played right back most of my career. And then Ian Holloway put me in midfield, in the midfield 3. And there was me at the time, Ronnie Morgier. Ronnie Morgier was an absolute good player. Ronnie could play. Jesus, was he hard. Everyone was scared. Everyone knew Ronnie, so everyone was quite scared of him before he even got on the pitch. He was an absolute lunatic, but could play. I could tell you some stories about him. I mean, he used to punch people in the when you're lining up to come out. He used to punch people, and I used to say, "Do you know him, Ronnie?" And he said, "No." No. Honestly, it happened, and that's what happened in our days, you know. And the disappointing thing was his teammates didn't stick up for this lad, but this 45 at half time, this lad got dragged off. And Ronnie said, I told you, he wouldn't come near us. But that's how it was in our day, and that's what happened. So I played with some tough players. Ronnie was a tough player. And then we had David Ilya, who was the other one of the three in there. But I enjoyed my time in midfield. Just my goal ratio got a little bit better in midfield, but it still wasn't great.
Yeah, I read something about that. You scored a goal against Chesterfield. And,
Yeah.
A fan said if you ever score a goal, they're going to walk home from the ground. Is that correct?
It was correct. I mean, what a daft statement, eh?
So he walked all the way from Chesterfield to Bristol.
Yeah, he did it. He did it for charity. He did it, and they finished the walk on the Saturday for the home game. Whoever we were playing on the Saturday, and they asked me to do the last kilometre with them, but I did tell him I got a game to play, so I couldn't. No, but he raised a lot of money. To be fair, raised a hell of a lot of money for charity. Benny's name was actually, and he did it 157 mile, I think it was.
Wow!
But they started at the ground and they finished. They finished at the Rovers ground. Raised a lot of money, got a good publicity, and he did it. And then I think the question was, what will you do if he gets a hat trick? And I think he said he jumped out. The fact I got one goal in about 350 games, I wasn't really going to get a hat trick. But true story, yeah, true story. He did walk and he did it. Fair play to him. He stuck to his word. Yeah. I bet he wished he had scored at home. But fair play to
him. Who was the best player you play with?
Best player I played with? To be fair, I mean, at Rovers, I mean, at West Brom, I had the likes of Don Goodman there. Good player, Don Goodman, Tony Ford. I had some good players at West Brom. Stuart Naden in goal. Some really good players. And at Bristol Rover, I was spoilt, if I'm really honest with you. I remember when I signed for them, they had Marcus Stewart and John Taylor up front. John Taylor went not long after I was there to learn, but Marcus Stewart, what a player he was. Obviously went to Ipswich, scored a lot of goals in the Premiership.
Yeah, he did.
We then had Jamie Curtin. We had Gareth Taylor up front, went to Man City, scored a bin for the goals, Man City, Sheffield United. We had Jason Roberts, went to West Brom, Blackburn, scored a lot of goals. We had Barry Hales, went to Fulham, scored a lot of goals. We had Nathan Ellington, obviously Wigan and stuff. So to be fair, in my time at Rovers, we were massively sport with some serious centre forwards.
Yeah, the goal scorers. There's a lot of goals between them players there, and all them that you just mentioned.
A lot of goals, you know. They all went to play in the Premier League and all scored goals in the Premier League. You know, from Gareth Taylor, Marcus Stewart, every single one of them. Jamie Curtin, not so much, didn't make it. Curo probably had the best ability. I'm a friend of Jamie's. His attitude wasn't always the best. In fact, the last time I saw him was when I went back to one of the reunions. He was still playing at 14. He was in better condition than he was when he played with us. So he'd obviously got his head down and knuckled down. But so the best players I played with, Peter Beadle, great centre forward. Paul Miller, so we were sport with centre forwards when I was there. The likes of Andy Tilson, centre half, was probably the best player. Not a lot of people know that Tilly, but a centre half, they had him from QPR. What a player he was! He could do everything, And then they had the honour to play with someone. Mark Walters came and played for us. Considering he'd been at Rangers, Liverpool, Villa, won stuff. He came to us as a wing back, worked like a Trojan every day, worked everything off, and and show the kids coming through and what was happening. He's a man that's won lots in the game, played at the top teams, but his attitude is absolutely unbelievable. So you'd have to throw Mark Walters into that equation as well, just for his application and his ability.
Excellent. Playing alongside Holloway, how was that? Obviously, he's a colourful character, isn't he? Holloway. How was that?
He is, yeah. I mean, when Ollie first came to the club, we never got on. And it's out in the public that we never got on. I was a John Ward man. He even had me train. I went from being a senior pro, club captain and stuff to training with the youth team under Ollie. And then, me and Tilly. So you talking Tilly was a club captain, and obviously when Tilly wasn't captain, I was. So you got the two, probably what people would say were the senior pros, the better players, and he had us training with the youth team. And I remember Gary Thompson. Gary Thompson used to play for Villa and stuff. He was a coach, and he used to run us every Friday. That's all we used to do, run, because Ollie didn't want us. It got to a stage where Rovers started losing games. They were on a poor run of form. Then, when the fans had took something like 7,000 signatures to get me back in the team and all that. There's a bit of pressure on him. But so to be fair, when he first came in, we never got on. He banned me from the training ground. He actually banned me from the training ground. That's the first time anyone's ever banned me from the training ground. So I was training at home until the PFA intervened and told him you can't ban him from the training ground. He's under contract. And then the worst thing that happened then was Bristol City tried to sign me. Bristol City, they agreed a fee and all that. And once Ian Holloway and his Rovers roots, anything, he banned red bibs, he banned red cones, he banned red everything from the training ground, because his hatred for Bristol City was just unbelievable. Nothing red was allowed in the training ground. So then when Bristol City obviously came in for me and they agreed a fee, and it was like that, then obviously that didn't help. But I have to say, in the end, I proved him wrong. He supported me, and you know what? When I left, he was a best mate. I always remember him writing in my testimonial program that I was the sort of bloke you'd like your daughter to marry. I wouldn't do that. But obviously, our relationship had got better. But it was colourful, but you know what? He's passionate, absolute passion. Wanted to win, wanted the best of everything. You're always going to cross lines with managers. You're always going to have your fallouts, and we did. And there's no doubt about that. But he's the one that supported me in the end and helped me. And obviously, I was injured when he left. But who knows? I may have gone on and played for him again.
Brilliant.
Interesting.
Are you still? Pardon?
They don't make him like Ian Holloway anymore. They don't make him like that.
Some of the stuff he comes out with is just
do you know, there are a few times we had vacancies down at Rovers, Blackburn Rovers, and a few times he were nearly appointed our manager. I know there are a couple of times he were down into the running of the last two or three. I just, as a Rovers fan, I just so wanted him. He's got such an infectious personality. From the outside, obviously, I don't know him personally, but his passion for football and his passion, like you say, to win and the best of everything, it's so infectious.
It's huge. And one thing I've always said, and I will say to this day, the best football and the best we've played, and the only time I've ever gone out on a Saturday or Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever it was, and felt we're not going to get beat is when under Ian Holloway. He had us so disciplined in what we did and the shape, and where everyone had to be on the pitch. It was just ingrained into you. If the ball's there, you simply have to be there. If the ball's there, you simply have to be there. And we had it so well. I mean, we were 8 points clear in February. And then I did my knee, and Ronnie Morgier broke his leg, and we finished 7th. But we used to go out on a Saturday. And think we're not going to get beat here, and that's mentally how he got us. No one's going to beat us here. We were too fit because, by the way, he could still run then. So we used to join in with everything. So he didn't even have an excuse not to do the running. He wanted you fit. You had to be fit for the way he played because it was very, the back fours, pressing, back off, press back. But fair play. And I spoke to Andy Tilson actually not long ago about it. I said, it's the only time in my career I've ever played and thought, no one's going to beat us here. No one can beat us. And that's not a bad feeling.
Definitely not.
I'm surprised no one had a go at him again, to be fair. You don't see a lot of him now. I saw him every day on Sky, and now I don't see that much of him. But honestly, as you say, infectious. You can't help but get drawn into it. And but the way he got us playing was ridiculously good.
He took over at Leicester when we were in the crap in the Championship under Mandarich, and obviously he took over a bad side and he couldn't turn it around, and we ended up going down to League One.
Yeah,
I've heard a few podcasts, under the Kosh and players that have played under him, and they said he was a brilliant manager.
It surprises me because obviously he did well at Blackpool, didn't he? Obviously, he's fantastic at Blackpool. And then you see where he's gone since. And it hasn't worked out for him. I mean, even at Grimsby was his last place that I've known of him being. I don't know where he's been anywhere since that, but he was at Grimsby, wasn't it? That didn't work for him. But, what I remember is the way he had people play, whether he didn't have the players that listened to him, whether he didn't have players to do what he wanted them to do, I don't know. But he was that organised and the team was that organised and everyone knew their job. I'm surprised even with the likes of that teams, he couldn't really improve them and bring them up. Perhaps he changed his way. Perhaps the philosophy changed, and it happens in modern day football, doesn't it? You don't want a stigma of playing this way. You want to be playing out from the back. You want to be doing that. You want to be seen as a passing team. You want to be seen in this. But, for me, stick to your philosophy of what works. But whether he changed that, I'm not sure. But I was surprised to see him not do well at some clubs if he'd done just what he did with us. Just got us so disciplined.
Yeah, we got a question from Leighton H. He says, "Are you still involved in the game at coaching or anything?"
To be fair, I don't know. Obviously, when I finished with my knee, I finished in 2002. The specialist, I finished. The specialist did give me 3 options. He said you could have another operation on your knee, which would have made it my 7th. But he said the chances are it won't work again. He said you can have cells taken out your knee, and they go off to a lab for 18 months, and they grow the cells and put them back into your knee. But I hadn't played for 18 months at the time, so that would have been like sort of 3 years out of football, and you can't play the standard hours with having 3 years out. He said, or if you don't want to be in a wheelchair when you're 40, you need to stop playing football. So I said to him, "You're not giving me a choice, really." He said, "Yes, Dave, I'm giving you 3." Because that's how he has to put it.
Yeah.
So when I stopped, I was obviously coaching the under-14s and the 17s at Rovers. Anyway, they'd asked me to do that while I was injured. Really enjoyed that. And then, to be fair, as I say, when relationship with Ian Holloway, I took the reserves for probably the last 12 months of my time there. Did the reserves, coached the reserves. And then when Jerry Francis got sacked, when my contract was finishing, Phil Batter came in and I came in as his number 2 for the last 5 games. So it was always something in the back of my mind. Ray Graydon then came in as manager. I knew Ray Graydon. He tried to sign me for Walsall, so I knew Ray anyway. He was bringing his own team in, and to be fair, I'd bought a property in Spain then. I'd sorted everything out in Spain, so it didn't change my mind. And then I did a lot of coaching with the kids in Spain with the Marbella Academy. The academy kids down there, coached them, really enjoyed it. But if I'm really honest, do I do anything now? No. it's been a few years now since I've been involved. I prefer to do it with the young kids. The thing I struggle with is the parents and people like that, because I'm not the most patient. I'm not the most patient in the world, and it does sometimes get me down. But I enjoyed it. But the answer to your question is no, I'm not still involved at the moment. But would I would do it, absolutely.
Happy days. Scott Herbert asks, you like this one. Have you been a massive Wolves fan? Why did you sign for arch rivals West Brom?
To be fair, I signed for Scott. To be fair, I signed for West Brom at 11 years old. When you're playing for Purton or Brighton, your local teams, and West Brom come and skate you, and they want you to go and sign for them at 11 years old, you don't really say no. I'm a Wolves fan. It's not something that happens. So when I'm growing up there, West Brom were a decent team, of course. I hated it when they played Wolves because I really was a big Wolves fan, and it was difficult for me. But there again, when they offer you an apprenticeship and they're offering you a pro contract and that, and I remember leaving school, my first coach was Nobby Stiles at West Brom as an apprentice. So you're leaving school at 16 and you go to West Brom as an apprentice, and Nobby Stiles is training you every day. So that's days you remember. So yes, of course. Listen, all my managers who I played for knew I wanted to play for Wolves. John Ward used to say to me, "Keep the dream, keep the dream. You'll get your move. You'll get your move." So of course I wanted to play for Wolves, but unfortunately you don't turn down a club like West Brom wanting to sign you play for it.
I bet Steve Bull being at West Brom originally influenced you as well, and then obviously being one of the heroes of Wolves influenced you to move to West Brom.
I mean, to be honest, you don't really need influences at those days, at that age. You want to be a professional footballer. You're leaving school. That's where you want to be. So when you're offered an apprenticeship at West Brom, you're not gonna. There's no two ways about it. You're going to take it. But what you do then is you aim your sights where you want to be. And I made no secrecy of that. I wanted to play for Wolves. John Ward knew, Ian Holloway. They all knew my dream was to play for Wolves. That was up to me to get that done. But I used to watch Wolves West Brom on a regular basis when we played them, especially when I was an apprentice. And the most difficult part for me was when Wolves scored is sitting down and not jumping up when you're a West Brom apprentice and you're sitting with all it was very, very difficult. And I had to be so disciplined at that time, not to jump up when Bully bangs in the back of the net, and I shouldn't be jumping up where I am in my West Brom tracksuit as a youth team player.
What was it like? What was Nobby Stiles like then as a coach? Was he good?
Different class. You only ever look up to him. You leave school at 16, is it? 15, 16, and you see him there and you know the bloke. What a man, though. It's not just what he did, what a man. I used to get on well with him because I was the same type of player. I just used to kick people, if I'm really honest, a bit like he did. So we used to get on really well. I'll tell you, I'd have a million stories for you, but one off the top of my head, I was only 16. I'd been there about a month playing in the youth team, and I remember walking down the corridor and Nobby said, "Have you looked at the team sheet, Pritch?" I said, "No." He said, "Go and have a look." So I looked, the reserves playing Liverpool away, Anfield.
Right.
And in the squad, so I'm only 16. So we get there on the day, and Nobby pulls me on playing. So we look at their team, and on the left wing, I'm playing right back, is Ronnie Rosenthal. Israeli international, built like an absolute brick, whatever. Here's me, just left school. So he actually said to me, he actually pulled me. He said, "Pritch," he said, "first time he gets the ball, he won't fancy it in the reserves. First time he gets the ball, just absolutely give him everything." He said he don't fancy playing in the reserves. He's an international footballer. So I remember it was by the line. Actually, it was right by the dugout, and he's had a touch, and I thought, "Here's my chance." So I've absolutely given it everything I've got, and I've honestly bounced off him about 2 yards.
He was a beast, wasn't he?
He was a beast.
Yeah.
And I've looked up, and Nobby's just gone, "Pritch, plan B, plan B." I'm like, but that's how he was. He was the most down to earth. What a man he was. Wanted the best for you. Wanted to teach you. Wanted you to do it the right way. He liked you having a tackle, as you can imagine. Didn't like people that didn't want to give everything. So that aren't me. But you're in awe of him. What a man he was. You imagine leaving school and playing with him. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Was Ron Atkinson the manager then of the first team?
Yeah, when I was my apprentice, Ron Atkinson, he was the manager. So it didn't often. Obviously, there was not a big divide, but there was a youth team, and there was the first team, and there was the reserves. Trained with the first team a few times with him. Took us out on different things, when they take you into the first team to gradually get you in. So Ron Atkinson was manager then, and then it was Brian Talbot. So he came in then. I was about 17, started getting into the first team squads, but it was actually Bobby Gould that gave my debut at West Brom when I was 18.
He won the FA Cup with Wimbledon, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
BG, know him well, great bloke. He selected me for Wales, so he's a person I have a lot to thank for. A lot of people don't like him, don't rate what he did, but he was ever so good for me.
So how did that come about, playing for Wales then? You don't sound Welsh.
I've got a Welsh accent.
Yeah.
No, my granddad was born in Wales, in Holt in Wrexham, so cap's a cap, Ben. You know what I mean? Your cap's a cap, your shirt's a shirt, and all that. Internationals and internationals. So I'm just doing out my games room back here. So my Welsh shirt will be up there. It's memories. So
fantastic.
Great moment. Yeah.
Did you play for England C as well?
Yeah, when I obviously went from West Brom, I went to Telford from West Brom. At the time, probably jumped at it, but being Wolverhampton, being Telford, it sounds daft, but Jerry Daly was manager of Telford at the time, ex-Man United. And I remember going there speaking to him. And to be fair, they were offering me decent money to train on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And they got me a cushy job with their sponsors. So I'm thinking, and they were paying me appearance. Well, I'm thinking, I'm going to earn more money than I was at West Brom here. So you think, okay, I'll train on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And to be fair, I did. And then you work in and stuff. So I was playing non-league. And I probably had, I don't know how long I had there. I should know, probably have just over 12 months. But probably the best learning curve for me. Tough league, seriously tough league, the conference. There's no messing about in that league. You have to grow up very quickly playing in that league. And then George Foster came in as manager and just pulled me and said, "You're going to stop working. You shouldn't be playing at this level. You need to. I'm going to come in training every day. I'm full time." Whereas Jerry Daly wasn't full time. He said, "I'm full time." So I used to go training with him every day, 1-on-1 most of the time. Just meeting him to improve my game, stop working. And that's when I played for non-league England. I got selected a couple of times, to be fair. The once I didn't go, George didn't want me to go, but yeah, I played for them, non-league England, which again was great for me. And another good memory playing there. But the 12 months, 14 months, whatever I had there, was probably the time you grow up most. Because it is a tough old league, that conference. And when you're playing there at that age, you're 18, 19, it teaches you a lot.
I saw they paid 15 grand to take you from Telford to Rovers. Is that about right?
15 grand, yeah. To be fair, I mean, I don't want to bore you all with the stories, but I went training with Bradford because Stuart Pearson, who was at West Brom, is my coach at West Brom. He went to Bradford under Frank Stapleton. So I went training there when I was at Telford. They wanted to buy me. And I remember Stuart Pearson ringing me and saying they want 100 grand for you. I mean, 100 grand in non-league in them days was just absolutely ridiculous. He said, we want to sign you. We want 100 grand for you. So that never materialised. They stood in my way because 100 grand was just daft. They told me they wouldn't stand in my way getting back into the game if I went to sign for them. And 100 grand in 90 or 92 for a non-league player. 30 years ago. You're like, it's just ridiculous. Lucky enough, George, when he came in and we started training, he said, you won't be here. You're too good to be on. I won't stand in your way. And to be fair, I just remember him putting me one match. I think I played Woking. I thought I had a good game, actually. And he said to me, I want to see you in my office. And I thought I had a decent game. But he said, no, listen, he said, we've accepted an offer. He said, it's nowhere near enough money for you, but I vowed to you and I've made the promise I wouldn't stand in your way. So that was it. That was Saturday, and then on the Monday I was at Rovers. I was there. I didn't have an agent or anything at the time, so Monday George Foster met John Ward, who was the manager with me. We had lunch. He sorted my contract out, signed it on for him, my appearance money and everything. And Monday afternoon I was at Rovers.
Cool.
Brilliant.
So Connor's been on, resident Connor. He's got a few questions here, Pritch. He's got, when the team you're at signs a player as obvious competition for your position, what goes through your mind as a player? Are you putting in more effort to fight for your spot, or are you carrying on as normal? Does nothing change?
Good question. To be fair, you never want a manager bringing in someone that plays in your position, because as much as they might want to tell you that, oh yeah, but we need backup. If someone's looking for someone in your position, there's a chance you're not doing great.
Yeah.
So it's a great question, to be honest. But the only time it's really happened with me was again in my Ian Holloway bad days, when, to be fair, he brought 2 right backs in. When I was first team right back, he brought 2 right backs in. I remember him saying to me, in our bad days, I would say, you're my third choice right back. And I'm not going to mention the players that he brought in. But I just remember saying to him, listen, Gaffer, we don't get on, but seriously, what are you smoking? Because honestly, well, seriously, those 2 you brought in, you're not telling me. And it came to fruition, in the end, it all came out in the wash. But, that's the only time really I've ever had it. And he said, you're my third choice. I thought, fantastic. So no, good question, but
right, next one.
I never want to see it.
The next one is: does being a footballer give you an advantage to some extent in fantasy football?
You know what? It puts more pressure on you, as I said earlier, because everyone thinks, he knows what he's doing. He's going to get. And don't get me wrong, of course, you know what you're doing when you're watching football. You like to think you know what you're doing. You like to know the game. Which is why probably I don't watch a lot of football out, because some of the comments from the people that are watching football that are out are just absolutely ridiculous. So hence, I try to watch it indoors when I can. Does it give you an advantage? You'd like to think so, but obviously not. Is the answer to that question? I've never won anything. I've won €50 this year, so that's my biggest ever win. So as much as you'd like to think so, and you like to keep your team to yourself and think, I won't tell anyone. No, I mean, to put it this way, I'm learning off you 3, so it doesn't give me any advantage.
I was listening to a podcast the other week, and Stuart Pearce was on, and he was talking about fantasy football, and he said he was in a mini league at his son's school, So it was like father-son mini league.
Yeah.
So you had to, and they had the principal, the headmaster of the school in it, and all that. And going down to the last day of the season, he was second in the league with his son,
Yeah.
and the headmaster was first. So he was playing at who was playing? I can't remember. He was either playing or coaching. I think he was coaching.
Yeah.
And he got in contact with Alex Ferguson, and he said, "Come and help us out, could you? Who's starting on Saturday?"
Yeah.
And he went, Chris Smalling will be starting out of Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. And Chris Smalling. So he put Chris Smalling in, and he ended up scoring a goal or something, and helping him win. He ended up winning the mini league because he got the inside information. Do you ever get any chance to get any information like that?
You'd love to. I mean, I love Man City. I love the way they play. I love everything about them. I think they're at a different scale. But you just don't know what team they're going to play. Honestly, it's not. You just don't know what team they're going to play, do you? They've got that many good players. I mean, imagine if Kane would have gone there. I think every single person in fantasy football would have had Kane up front at Man City.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because he just scored every game. But, I do often think that, I wonder if I could, especially when you're up there and it's the end of the month, who can I speak to? Who can I speak to get a bit of inside information? You know what? They change the team these days, don't they? So I have no inside information, hence why I'm 26th in the
league. You've got it now from us.
You've
got it now from us, haven't you? Final one from Connor. How brutal is it really during the academy process for young players? I can imagine it could be really damaging for some of the mental health. How tough is it down there?
Yeah, times have changed. Times have certainly changed. Academy kids these days, it's all about education. They don't clean boots. They don't wash the kit. They don't sweep the changing rooms. They don't clean the bath. They don't clean the toilets. They don't. Times have completely changed. When being an apprentice, when we're an apprentice, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it. But you clean the pros' boots. You clean the baths after the game. You clean the toilets. You put the kit in the wash. You clean the stands. And that's what you did. And you had pride in one day sitting there having your boots cleaned because that's what you aim for. I remember cleaning the lads' boots at West Brom for Tony Ford, Steve Parkin, a few of them. And you're thinking, and one thing I always used to make sure was that their boots were sparkling, whether their training boots or the match boots were sparkling in the morning for when they came into training. So that set you where you wanted to be. The late good friend of mine, Hugo Ekiog, when I was in a first year pro, used to clean my boots. Hugo went on to play. What a good player. God bless him, obviously. But that's where you aspire to.
Mm-hmm. He was quality centre half, weren't he?
Yeah, quality lad, quality player. There's no doubt about it, he was going to be a quality player when you played with him. But that's what you aspired to. Yes, things went on in our day. If the boots weren't clean, there's no hiding it. If the boots weren't clean, they used to call courts, pros, and they used to get you in the first team changing room, and you were never innocent. Put it that way. And it wasn't nice, but and it was all about DP, and it was all about dubbing, it was all about black polish, and it was all about everything else. But that's what happened, and for me, it's. I never saw any of my teammates psychologically affected by it. I never saw anyone go the other way with it. At the end of the day, if you did things right, that didn't happen. But things have changed massively now. We used to go to college, we used to do that, but it's so different now. We were probably one of the last few years of proper apprentices when we did everything as an apprentice, and that's how you were brought up, and that's how you did it. But they have it a totally different lifestyle to how we had it back then.
Yeah.
Who was the best tipper then at West Brom?
To be fair, we had good lads, and they always used to give you Christmas tip stuff. That no one was shy in doing it. And one thing they all taught me, and how the dressing room was, to be fair, was if you do things properly, you get looked after. And that stands you in good stead. You know, you do what you're supposed to do as an apprentice, and you learn your trade. It's not going to do you any harm when you're a pro footballer. So that, you know, that's one thing they did learn. You know, and we had the likes of Donny and Tony Ford played over 1,000 league games. You know, and you're looking at people like that, and you know, Arthur Albiston was there when I was an apprentice. You know, been a long time at Man United. These sort of people, Gary Robson, Brian Robson's brother. We had a lot of them, and one thing they did was that, you know, what was Jordan Cheer and what they taught you was just do it properly, do it right, and you've got half a chance. And you know, and that's how it was.
Paul Kinman's been on. He says, "Has your golf improved? And do you still carry a spare golf ball in your pocket for when you lose your ball in the rough trees?" Yeah, Paul Kinman.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. Nice to hear from you. To be fair, as my golf improved, I still don't play a lot. Obviously, I'm still busy at work. But my golf's okay. I play in a society once a month if I can, more for the social than the golf. But it's not too bad. There's some good lads out here on a good social with the local pub down there. But has it improved? Not really. Did it ever have to improve to beat Paul? Not really. So it's I still fancy my chances, tell him.
I've got a question from Patrick. Do you feel the management side of football's changed? I.e., in the old days, there was more of an authoritarian approach that might have worked, but maybe now in modern times, perhaps more you've got managers that are more likely to put their arm around the shoulder. Do you think the management style of football's changed since you were there?
Of course it has. I mean, one thing about it is obviously the money, that goes without saying, but even if you're not talking about the Premiership, you're talking about egos and multimillionaires, and to be able to manage those sort of people. But even if you look at the lower leagues, it has to change. You know, people just wouldn't get away with what managers did in our day and what they said and what they did. Not did personally, you know, physically or anything, but the way they did things. Do I think it's right? No. I mean, I work with, I don't know whether you know Roy McDonough. He's at Chelsea, Birmingham, Southend, Colchester. He was Colchester manager. Took him up from the thing. He's old school, Roy, 63. What a man he is. Absolutely old school. And I'd have loved to have played for him. I'd love to have played under him because of the way he is. Things have totally changed now in management. I mean, I honestly watch some games in the lower leagues and they're trying to pass it out from the back, and I just don't understand it, if I'm really honest. I just really don't understand it.
Yep.
Some of the Premiership teams can't do it, let alone, you know, talking, you know, first and second division. You know, yes, you want to be seen as playing the right way, but the right way is doing things right and defending. People don't defend these days. There's no defenders. There's no defenders, real proper defenders in the Premier League. They don't want to put their head in now. They won't get hurt. They won't get a cut. They won't get a bruise. So the game's completely changed, and not for the better for me, if I'm really honest. I think we had the best days. People will say differently, but I think we had the best days. But so management now, I think man management is still a huge part of it. If you're a good man manager, you get your players playing for you. You know, and that's whether it's in the Premiership, the first, second, Championship, in the lower leagues. If you're a good man manager, you get the players playing for you. You know, but these egos these days. I mean, let's be honest. We've got apprentices. We've got young kids, 18, 19-year-old, earning 20, 30 grand a week. Never, ever play a football league game in their life. So it's difficult, isn't it? To manage people like that. They'll never make one appearance in their life. Yet they're probably made for life. You know, it's
scary.
Difficult.
It's scary, that is.
Yeah, there'll be players at Man City who are on 40 grand who've never played in the first team,
And never
and
will.
they get asked to go on loan in League Two, but they don't want to go and get changed in porter cabins and stuff like that when they're getting the dinner cooked for them every day.
Yeah.
And down there, they'd have to go to the corner shop to get the lunch and whatever, League Two. So
they have it. So you wouldn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sitting there. I'm not jealous of it, and I don't blame them. If people are giving out these contracts to these kids and these people that never ever play a football league game, multi-millionaires, you're not surprised, are you? I mean, but it's gone from now, wanting to, be having memories and all that. They got a few million in the bank. They're okay now. Not too bad.
Yeah. But do you when you get released from, say, Man City and you've got no loans on your career CV, no one's going to look at you, really, are they? Like, if you go and play down in League Two, League One, at least you've got some football on your CV and you've been experienced and played proper football.
I know what you're saying. I mean, when I lived, again, I keep going about the good old days, we had the Central League, for example, so the Reserve League, so there was a reserve football every week.
Yeah.
That's not that anymore. It hasn't been for years. You've got the under-23s, but it's not the same. A lot of the big clubs have allegiances with clubs abroad, don't they, that they lend players to and all that. But they're not interested in playing. They're not interested. They're just going to pick their wages up, struss about as though they own the place, and walk around Manchester or London as though they own the place, and and multimillionaires. So it's not going to change unless that does, really.
Question here from Andy Barnett. It's a long one, this, Pritch. So if you if you listen up, sometimes players seem to be having a stinker game after game and still get picked to play. The player's capable of so much more, but can't understand why the performances are not so good. Could this be due to reasons not immediately visible? For example, managers' instructions, or basically that have stopped you playing to your strengths, or an injury that you might be holding on to. Also, whenever you were going through a dip in form, what were the main reasons for this?
Good question. I mean, I've played with many players. I had myself where you've had some seriously poor games. I think a lot of why you're playing, even when if you're in a poor run of form, shall we say, why you keep playing is the trust from your manager. It's all about trust, and it's what your manager knows what he's going to get from you, knows what you can do. Even when you're having a poor game, one thing he can rely on you is to run your nuts off and and give everything and leave everything out there, even if you're not playing well. The biggest thing, and I'll be really honest, and we're not going to go too deep in, and I've been a part of it myself, and I've had a lot of teammates. Is it's home life. It's out of that affects your form. You'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Especially when you start the coaching bit and you start getting deeper into that, how much you realise, when there's something not right with a player. And honestly, 99.9% of the time, it's certainly nothing to do with their football. It's their home life. It's their personal life. And that's when you have to be the manager. You have to be a man manager. You have to put your arm around them. You have to listen. Be the agony aunt, be the shoulder to cry on, be the person to speak to. And that's a difficult part that no one sees, of course, because it never goes out of those four walls. But you'll find a lot of times, especially when I played, if it was a poor run of form and it continued, or the player just wasn't on the game, it was more times than not, it was nothing to do with their football. It was their home life, personal life, and it was affecting it, and it affects everyone. Even now, I suppose everyone that if they're not getting on at home, or some problems at home, or some worries, they don't perform to the best abilities, and it's just shone out more, obviously, probably when you're a footballer. But again, that's what good managers do. Good managers do. They keep the trust in you. They keep the faith in you. So it does.
I think obviously a few years back, from a Rovers sense, I've seen it a little bit with Bradley Dack had a good few games where he just didn't seem himself.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you ever worked with Tony Mowbray, obviously with the West Brom connections and stuff.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I know Mark Venus. Obviously, Mark Venus used to live in my village in Cotsall, Wolverhampton, so I know Vino, good friend of his. So obviously I watch Blackburn and the progress and what they do. You know, he's followed Tony Mowbray everywhere, hasn't he? So, you know, I knew
he has,
knew Vino really well. So you watch them, yeah, but sorry, I interrupted then.
I was just going to go on to basically the way Mowbray treated it was he took Dack out of the firing line. He had a few personal problems with his missus at the time, and obviously it's stuff that you don't usually see.
No,
a player who's struggling with like a home life and whatever else. But with Dack and his missus, they're quite in the public eye.
Of course, yeah.
And it came out a little bit. But to me, as a Rovers fan, I think Mowbray's probably one of the best man managers we've had in a very, very long time. I think he's a good, honest bloke that treats his players well. I think. Do you think, obviously, that is something that gets the best out of players, isn't it? I think you touched on it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you speak to anyone who I played the game with, and you'd rather play for your people that are man managers and good at man managing and do it properly. You give everything, and that's what you do. You know, when you get their trust and they get your trust, and you know that they're there and they're in your, they're in your side, they're on your side, and they're going to be there for you. It's a huge part of the game for me. Management is the biggest thing ever, and you can see he comes over well, doesn't he, Mowbray? You can see how he protects his players, and I don't mean protecting them when they've had a bad game. I don't mean protecting them when they're not up to scratch. But it's not just that, because I don't mind people telling the truth, but man management and the way they deal with players, and a lot of people don't see it, but there is people that have problems at home. There is people that have problems in their home life and their wives and kids and all that, and the best managers deal with it better than the others do. It's quite simple as that.
I think it's easy for fans to see players just like robots and numbers and just people that turn up and play football like as if they don't have a personal life. I think that's what sometimes you get that gist, don't you?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I remember being at Rovers and I was injured. I was in the stand. I won't mention any names. It's funny. And I'm sitting there, and although I was very popular there, some of the comments about other players was quite damning, to be honest. And in the end, I got up and went and sat somewhere else. I went and go in the box, actually, get out of the way. And on that game, one of the players' wives had actually stood up, thrown some, not maliciously, just a paper, something at him, and said, "I tell you what, I'll give you a tenner and I'll come round and call your wife a slag every 5 minutes." I just think we're fair. Yeah. We're human beings.
Yeah.
There's no need for it. And to be fair, what I heard about it after, and I thought, I'm not surprised, because the abuse they were getting was absolutely horrendous. And don't get me wrong, people pay the money, they have their opinions, and they that's what they can do. But people don't see in a circle. They don't see what goes on every day. They don't see what's happening in personal lives, and we are expected to perform every week. I mean, people. God knows how many people say to me, "What did you used to do in the UK?" And my stock answer now is, "Well, we ask about 10,000 people, and they say not a lot." But I used to play. But the expectation is there, and they expect you week in, week out to do it. And one thing you do learn is, if you give everything, it doesn't matter how good or how bad you play. If you give your all, the supporters will be there.
Definitely.
What was the standout moment of your career? Biggest highs? Your biggest high and your biggest low? And your biggest low?
Probably could be a mixture of the same game. Obviously playing at Wembley, playoff final. Walking up Wembley, 75,000 people there. It's something you're not going to... no one could take away from you. Nervous times. You wish you'd have gone back, and we should have gone back again 2 or 3 times. but we lost in the playoff final to Huddersfield. So you're talking of probably your proudest moment going out there. Your family's there, walking out. I think there was 45,000 Rovers fans there. So you look at that, you don't get better than that, and then you lose 2-1. We should have won the game. We had Gav Taylor missed an own goal, Marcus Stewart at the bar, Justin Skinner missed a one-on-one. It just wasn't going to happen for us. So you put that down as probably your biggest disappointment. So you could probably say the same game brought in both aspects. I wish I'd gone back again because I think I'd have took it in more and enjoyed it more the second time around. I mean, we played in the semi-final again against Northampton, beat them 3-1 away. Oh no, beat them 3-1 at home. Absolutely battered them. Should have been 4-5-0. John Gale got a late goal for them. 3-1, and we lost the second leg 3-0. I mean, we were just atrocious. So that's one step away from Wembley again. And you're going and playing Swansea in the playoff final, and you think playing at Wembley again, you'd have enjoyed it more, you'd have took it in more because the first time you're like, so like that. So you'd have enjoyed it more. But so it's a bit of both, to be honest. Best moment, never take it away. But also, it's not the place to lose. It's not a place to lose.
Yeah.
We found a photo of you with playing against David Beckham. Do you remember that match? And was that in his treble winning season for United?
It was. I think it was 97. I played him. I've got a picture of the wall up here, and me playing against him. It's the only picture up here at the minute. But great lad. To be fair, about that game, all of them were world class. All of them were world class, as not just players but people. Again, memories, and people say to me, do you miss it? Of course, you miss it. You miss the banter more than you miss everything else. Yeah. But you take memories, and I'll have my Beckham's shirt, picture up here. I'll have my Wales shirt. I'll have my Wembley shirt. All my three main shirts up here. So that's what you take away from the game.
Did you used to swap shirts at the end of the game, or back then?
To be fair, no one wanted my shirt, if I'm really honest, Ben. But it's not really something that we used to do at our level. Don't get me wrong, when we played the likes of the bigger teams, of course you swap shirts and you got shirts on. That but and they just made the nod of the head and accepted yours. They didn't really want it, but they accepted it. But at high level, I'd love to have made the most of it. I'd have got as many shirts as possible.
Well, Pritch, honestly, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. It's been brilliant. Obviously, we've got some work to do with your dream team, mate.
Big time.
But we promise you our undivided help there. We'll be all over your team. Don't tell the lot in the Costa League, but we'll help you out.
So when are we getting together again about this dream team then? Or should we have it over WhatsApp? Should make a WhatsApp group.
Hey, if you want to pop on next month, mate, and we'll have an update about your team. That you're welcome, more than welcome.
Yeah, I'd love a chat about it because I do need some help, if I'm really honest. And to be fair, I've enjoyed it. It's been an insight for me. I've learnt a lot. It's been nice to see you all. I will concentrate more with my tips so far, but I'm sure we'll speak on a personal level and get some more tips and help me out. And then Paul Kidman will try and get on next month, Ben, and see what he can do.
Definitely, mate. Thanks so much. Cheers, pal.
Pleasure,
David. Thanks, mate.
Anytime, give me a